welcome to the Money Tree. I'm David Holt.
And I'm David Marks.
And we are here with the Season 2, Episode 2. So that's 2.2.
That's right. And I love it when you have this time of year because it makes your voice sound deeper. So it makes you sound really masculine behind the microphone. We're coming to you live from Rainsville.
Flu is running rampant.
It is.
And we're trying really hard to stay healthy.
So I'm glad that you brought that up. I want you to share with everyone what you shared with me today because I had no idea that this had been. Can you take a minute to share that?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's not
great.
on the script.
It's not part of the script. This is all improv. So
I did it this morning. As a education employee in the state of Alabama, you have something called Teledoc. And that's where you can talk to a doctor by texting. You can call them. You can have a face-to-face FaceTime. You know how you do that on your phone. Yeah. It is no cost to you. There is no copay, and the doctor sends your prescription to the pharmacy, and you go pick it up within 15 minutes of calling them.
So let's just say that you are an educator or a dependent of an educator on their health insurance plan, and you're home, and you think you may have the flu.
Don't go out.
Do not go to the doctor's office. A, to the fiscal conservative, you're saving gas money, but B, you're keeping yourself from being infected if you don't have it and your immune system's a little weak, or you also may be keeping others from getting sick. So I love this idea.
The Money Tree, you don't want to have to pay the $30 for the copay.
Right, save that cash.
We got a Pentecostal sound guy back there.
Right.
He's really excited about that.
Right.
But it's for all employees and all their dependents. Now, you have to either call, and this is what I would like to tell you when I did it today. If you go online and register today while you're feeling well and you think clearly, it's very easy to do. I did it online, added my daughter, my wife to my plan, and then I downloaded the app on my phone. So I can do it on the app on my phone. I can call the 800 number. I can do it online.
Do you think they would have been able to get me a defibrillator last Monday night for the national championship game? Because I'm pretty sure I needed one several times during that game.
I don't think so.
That's not how it works, right?
It is not how it works.
Right.
But, that is a cost-saving measure, and that's what we're here about, the Money Tree. And the thing I like what you said, if you think you're sick, you don't have to get out in it. You can put on your toboggan and your coat and go to the drive-thru at most pharmacies that they have now, and you don't have to get out of your car. You just get your prescription and go through a drive-thru on your way home.
Isn't it great to see that a lot of businesses are going routes of trying to have drive-thrus, things like that, where you can actually access that without going inside.
It's called convenience. Everything they want convenience.
But it's also a protective measure because it will keep people from infecting other people if they're sick. So
we were talking about, a friend of mine was talking the other night about churches. Could we just, where they have the meet and the greet, shaking hands and hugging, could we just wave and nod?
Well, that may be what we need to do with flu season. Either that or keep a lot of Germ-X.
We have it at our church mounted on the walls, several places throughout the church.
Okay.
And so, we have some kids at our church have cystic fibrosis.
Okay.
And so it's very important that they stay healthy. And so I found myself at home. My daughter was a little under the weather last week, and she did not have the flu. We went to the doctor, paid our copay. But that's before I had Teledoc.
That money.
But, I was thinking, I should have done that. And so I did it today while I had some time off. But we've been using Germ-X at our house. She was a little offended when I sprayed the Lysol toward her door.
I've always thought, maybe this is for those of you who are engineers out there, or for our sound guy, if he has an engineering background, he could do this. I've always thought that if you could, how they have the foggers for insects inside your home, if they had like a flu fogger, that you pulled the pin and threw it in the classroom at school and it went off, maybe it would kill all the bacteria, and then the next day it's like, hey, I hadn't got to worry about it. We threw the foggers off.
As a school teacher, you should clean your desk every day with Clorox wipes.
It's a flu grenade.
Yeah. But let me go back to the thing I was sharing with you. If you are interested, go to teledoc.com/Alabama. Right. And you can register with your insurance card, your PHIP card. You have to put that number in, your mailing address, set up an account, and an email, and it works very, very simple. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, trust me, that's true. All right, so I have a money fact for you for this week. What year were you born, David?
1962.
Okay, so this is a little bit before your time.
Thank you.
But did you know
I'm
that
55, by the way, just so everybody knows.
Well,
I think I look good for 55.
Yeah,
My hair is
sure.
still here.
That's
Hello? My hair.
Well,
Go
as
ahead.
I've always said, that my brain continually grows, and as it keeps growing, it's just pushing it all out. So I can't,
Whatever excuse you need, brother.
Right,
Whatever
whatever you gotta
excuse
do.
you need.
So here's why I ask you that. If you are of the age of 1955, or you're just a person like us who were born after that, you need to look at your pennies from 1955. It's very important because the U.S. Mint double stamped a lot of pennies in 1955. And of those pennies that are in circulation, depending on the quality and what condition it's in, did you know they can be worth up to $20,000
For a penny.
for a penny?
So
That's
what are you specifically looking for
You're-
a 1955 penny?
You would want to look for it to be double stamped, which means the years, the image, the text on the penny itself, everything would have almost like a shadow to it.
Uh-huh.
So everything, like say the year was 1955, there would be a shadow to that 1955, but it would be the imprint. It would actually be double stamped.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because I have a glass jar that's almost to the top, and I was deciding, was I going to roll those? Or was I going to go to the box store and pour them in?
Right.
I guess I'm going to pull my pennies out.
Well,
Is there any other coins I need to be looking for?
Oh, there's several others. That's just kind of the big one because pennies are so mass circulated. Now, there was about 20,000 of these pennies printed. So, your chances of finding one of those might be greater than finding, say, the double buffalo nickel from 1935, because there probably wouldn't have been as many minted that year.
True.
So,
Hey, you never know what you got if you don't look.
that's right. That's exactly right. So let's go ahead and get started this week. I'm kind of excited about.
Excited?
Yeah, I am, because this affects people. Anyone watching the show, if you work a job in the state of Alabama, especially, you're going to have some good news coming your way, because today we're going to be talking about the new tax plan.
All right. That sounds like
Tax
fun.
plan.
I am so excited too.
And this was something that was criticized a lot.
Yes.
It was heavily criticized, and of course they've talked about the deficits that are added. And one thing I want to put out there, this is not a political stunt that we're on today. This is strictly financial.
Okay.
So I don't want anyone to, write in on our Facebook page that, oh, blah, blah, either way. This is just giving you the good information, and you make the educated decision on what you think is best. And I definitely think next month, that February, people will start seeing a difference in their paycheck.
So it's not happening in the January paycheck, it's going to happen in February.
It'll come in their February paycheck, and of course they will see the really big difference when they file their taxes at the end of 2018, which will be the first of 2019.
All right.
So let's go ahead if we can, and here's a question I have for you.
Okay.
This is a very difficult question, but I think you're up for the task. It is said
That's never good when he sets me up like that.
It is said that there are two things certain in life. Do you know what those are?
Oh, yeah, I've heard that before.
Okay.
Death is coming, and you're going to pay taxes.
That's right. That's exactly right. So, hey.
Hey, I got one right.
That's gold star
That's
there.
the only thing I'll get right when you're talking about taxes, because I know that
Well, not necessarily.
my wife is the tax guru. I just, here's my stuff.
Just hand it to her. Here's my W-2. So, yes, we know that death and taxes are a part of life, and we know that that's something that's going to come to all of us at work especially and that are living today.
Yeah.
So, that being said, let's go ahead and look at our very first slide, which is our current tax plan.
Okay, this is what we're in right now,
This
or
is-
is this the new one?
This was the old one that finished out the year of 2017.
Okay, so this is the old one.
Yeah, so looking at that, there were 7 brackets to this tax plan.
Okay.
Depending on your wages, there was a 10%, 15, 25, 28, 33, 35, and 39.6.
Let's might as well say 40.
Right, you might as well say 40. So looking at that tax plan, and of course there's different ways this are structured, because you have single and you have married. And of course you can do married filing separately. So it'd be almost like filing single. But for the simplicity of time and everything that we have, we just broke it down to single. Looking at single, number one, if you made between $0 and $95.25, you pay 10%. By the way, the number 10% is huge with me. Now, I'm a big proponent of a flat tax for everyone. Of course, I know, though, that the United States probably couldn't operate on that.
Yeah.
And I love the 10% idea because that's a biblical tithe. But, we have to have people paying more than that to make everything function.
Well, and then do you tip that much when you go out to a restaurant?
I believe in tipping. I'm having my coffee too, by the way, this morning,
Okay.
brought to you by Mountain Valley Newspaper's kitchen back here. I believe that I try to say that I tip 20%
Okay.
when I go to eat. There are a few times that
And would that be because you were a waiter at one
I
time?
was a server at one time, yes. So I saw how difficult that was, and a lot of times they're paying out money to other people. So you servers out there, I like to say if I tip 15%, that's because my service was absolutely horrible. Not anything about my food, because they can't help that. It was strictly the service that I was given, and if they give me great service, I'll tip more than that
Okay.
because they're working for a living.
Okay.
So back to our slide, you can see that they break down. 15% breaks down up to 38.7. 25% is 93,700. 28, 195. That's probably the bracket. This one or the next one may be the one that you fall into. 33% would be anyone from almost $200,000 to $400,000. We may say.
I'm a public school educator, so no, I'm not up that high. But thank you for the
Boost confidence
Yes.
there? Okay, sure. 35%, of course, being our next to highest bracket. That's up to 426, and then you can see, and you see that there's a huge range between 33 on the 33% tax bracket for singles. It's from 195 to 424. So there's a huge range there. There's a lot of acreage, so we might say. Then the 35% is very small. It's not a huge gap. But then you have the 39.6, and that's our cameraman's tax bracket. When you make $426,000 and over, of course, fortunately he's married, so he gets to leverage some of that out.
Yeah.
Then
He's in the next bracket with a married group.
Right. So then we have the married group also on the same slide. Now look at the numbers here. 95.25 was a single, 19,000. So how many couples would you think of together they would make $19,000?
Very few.
Very few. Even in DeKalb County, which would be a lower income area, you have very few that do that. So they're paying 10%. Most people would probably fall into the next two categories as married couples, which is the 15%, which is up to 77,000,
Right.
or the 25%, which is up to 156,000.
And that's one of the things as we're talking, or I'm talking with young people about simulated workplace at the technology center. We give them a pretend paycheck, and they're like, "But I worked. I should have made more. Who's getting my money?"
Right.
And when young people work in the summer, they have to understand you pay so much to the federal, so much to your state, so much for Social Security. Those are things that come out.
And the tax plan that we're discussing today only covers your federal income tax, and that's important to know. So also realize there is a state income tax that you will have, and there's other things like you said, Social Security, things like that you may have to pay.
And then on top of that, you have to pay an insurance premium.
You do.
So there's lots of stuff that come out of your paycheck.
Right. So
before you ever see it.
Before you ever see it. So that was the old tax plan. The new tax plan is where I really love the numbers we're looking at. It really simplifies it to some degree, and it's going to save you money, especially if you live in Alabama.
Okay.
Okay.
So again, we're not on a political stump, but David's going to tell you what's
Sure.
going to benefit you in your pocket under the new tax plan, which we're going to look at their next slide.
Right. So before we get to that slide, though, there's an important piece of information I need to give you. Part of what makes this tax plan a big incentive for people is the standard deduction. Because the old tax plan, the standard deductions were not near as high. For example, the standard deduction for the old tax plan was $6,350 for a single and $12,700 for a married couple. Under this new tax plan, the standard deduction for a single person is $12,000, and then it's $24,000 for a married couple.
So that'd be so much easier for a young person who's working part-time, maybe going to school.
Absolutely. So if we can look at this in numbers here, the first $12,000, if you're a single person, you would not pay taxes on.
Wow.
That's your standard deduction. So it basically doubled the deductions. So a lot of people, I think, now that are going in to see their tax preparer, to where used to they would take in all this, charitable donations, and they would take in. A lot of them now are probably going to look at just taking that standard deduction, because if you're making $18,000 a year, you're probably not contributing $12,000 to your church.
Now we're talking about for 2000 when you file them in 2019.
This is the new tax plan.
So we're now talking about not this year's when you're filing your taxes, but next year when you're filing your taxes.
That's exactly right. So let's go ahead and look at slide number 2, which is the new current that we'll be rolling into this year tax plan. For a single, you can see that we still have the same type percentages, but do you see anything different about these percentages?
Yes, they're right off. They're lower.
They're lower. They're lower to where we had almost a 40% for the highest bracket. Now we have a 37% for the highest, and that's 500,000 and up. So the numbers, not only did the percentages come down, the numbers actually were adjusted some, probably because, of course, inflation, things like that could take place.
One thing I'm noticing is that they're more rounded numbers as you get a little higher. I mean, those were sort of odd, arbitrary numbers.
It was, and I wondered where they drew those from. You know, so looking at that, the single plan there, you can see there's 10, 12, 22, 24, 32, 35, and 37. Of course, we'll put these slides out there so that you can take time as a viewer because, of course, our time is limited, and we don't want to try to rush through that too much. Looking under the married, this is what's great. 10% still is $19,050. Okay? Remember, your standard deduction is how much?
$12,000
for a married couple.
$24,000.
Right. So if you make $20,000 as a married couple and your standard deduction is $24,000, how much taxes do you pay? You would actually get money back.
Yeah.
So there you go. So looking at that,
under federal,
state may be different, however. So you can see that still the 37% is the highest level that you pay as a married couple, making $600,000 and up a year.
But 37 is still a high amount. You're making that much money. You're paying lots of taxes.
You are, and that's something that I think is a misconception. The greatest number of people paying taxes is actually the wealthy people in our country. Because you think about it by volume, if you're paying 40% and someone else is paying 12%, even though they are making a lot of money, they're still almost paying half their paycheck back. So, and that 3% break is actually a pretty good bit when you're talking about $100,000, or more. If you look at it just in those measures, that's $3,000 per 100,000.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference when you take that 3% away. So anyway. That's part of it. I think a lot of people in our area, again, it was a huge national debate, big, national news. Everybody had all these things negative to say about it. There was a lot of mudslinging, but at the end of the day, I think we're going to see that people in our area especially are going to be doing better off. So to try to break this down and really put it in realistic everyday terms, let's look at 3 examples if we can.
Okay.
That I tried to decipher here. So let's look at slide number 3. Looking at slide number 3, the first example I gave is, and I just pulled these names out of thin air.
John and Jane?
Yeah, John and Jane.
The JJs?
The JJs are teachers, and the kids love them. They file married, and they make $46,000 a year each. So that would be their combined income of more than $46,000 there. Of course, they're more than 92.
Yeah.
So at their $92,000, the current tax plan would be about $25,000 a year in taxes they would have to pay. Under the new tax plan, they're going to pay $20,240 a year. So that's actually going to save them almost $5,000 a year in taxes. Now that's $5,000 a year that you could put towards your student loan debt, towards whatever, new vehicle, paying off your credit cards.
Getting those credit cards paid.
Yes. So we can see where someone that's a teacher, I can relate to that because I work in the school system. You could also. So if you are watching the show and you and your spouse are both teachers, I have several friends who this applies to, both husband and wife are teachers, you're going to see a savings in your taxes this year, probably in your February paycheck.
And so what are you going to do with that extra money that you see in your paycheck? Well, hopefully you'll put it toward paying something off. As we've talked about before, you want to start paying more on something that's charging you a high interest rate and get it off the books. Right.
Credit cards are always the first thing you want to see go because their interest rates are usually higher. Of course, student loan debt also is something that, now, with this, remember you have the deductions that are going to be calculated in this. So your deductions are part of that. Taking the standard deduction would be part of this. And where the tax law changes, and we're going to get into this in a few minutes, is because of how you can deduct some things. And that's where I said most people will probably wind up taking that standard deduction. Okay? Let's look at example number 2 if we can. Example number 2, Heath is a college student with a part-time job making $15,000 a year. That's probably an average income. College students, you could tell us if that was close or not. Under the current tax plan, he's going to pay $2,250 a year. Under the new tax plan, $1,800 a year. Okay. So even in college, it's going to save him $450 a year. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but you've got to remember the scale of income that he has.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to save $450 on a $15,000 a year income. So that's pretty big. That would buy a semester's worth of books, maybe.
Probably
Or
like one
close.
classroom,
Well-
one, or it would buy lots of pizza.
It would. It would buy a lot of Little Caesars pizza probably, because when I was in college we had to do the 5 hot and ready. You know,
Hey,
we couldn't
I'm
splurge for
telling
the
you,
big stuff.
I did it too when I was in college. You want the special.
That's right.
Every restaurant in town would have a special a different night, and that's where everybody went.
Maybe we should, be pushing the stock in ramen noodles to our college students, because at $450 at 30 cents a pack, you could buy a lot of ramen noodles.
I think there's a healthier option.
There probably is, but ramen noodles still good. So the example number 3, we've looked at, middle income, middle class family. We've looked at what would be considered a lower income college student.
Right.
So we've all been there. And now let's look at one that's a little bit higher income.
Okay.
So looking at example number 3 on our slide, Kyle is a doctor and his wife Susan is a nurse. Together they earn $365,000 a year. Now again, I'm basing this off people that might be in Alabama. Sure,
Okay.
there's probably plastic surgeons in LA that are yanking that in one surgery that they do. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, 365. We're looking at people in our area because I want us to focus on the Cobb County eyes. Would it be
Okay.
Cobb Countyans?
North Alabama.
Alabamians, ites, whatever. So under the current tax plan, they're paying $120,450 a year.
That's a lot of money in taxes.
Yes, that's a huge hit. Under the new plan, $116,800 a year. Now they're still paying a lot in taxes, but they're going to be saving, close to $4,000 a year, so $3,650. So you can see that actually the middle class, for all this was thrown out as, all that you heard on the national news, and all these people were saying, oh, this is a tax for the wealthy and it hurts the middle class. Well, actually, no. The middle class actually gets the bigger benefit from this tax plan. So while it gives breaks to everyone, as you can see, those 2 teachers are actually saving more money on their taxes than the doctors were together.
Yeah.
So the tax plan that was structured and was passed, irregardless, facts are facts. Like I said, this is not a political stunt. This is just when it comes down to where the rubber meets the road, middle class families, especially in Alabama and states like this, will be the ones who benefit from this. Now, there are some reasons why. And of course, a lot of people would ask, why is this so unpopular? Because when all this stuff was being talked about, of course, you know me, and of course we had Christmas break to go through this, and I was studying this, and I was looking over this, and I'm not a CPA, although we have an accountant in the room who, I told him that if I start trailing off, I want him to cough or yell or throw something at me. But looking at the numbers, I just could not see where some of the information that was being given nationally was accurate. It just was not accurate. So why was this so unpopular? That might be a question some were asking. Well, number one, because state and local tax deductions were either cut down or eliminated.
Okay.
So to where now you can take your state income tax, and if you have a local, people who work in Gadsden, you pay, I think it's 2% of a city tax for working there. Those deductions were eliminated completely.
Really?
So to where in 2017, when you do your taxes, you're going to be able to take your state income tax and deduct that from your federal wages that you would have to count. That would be a deduction that you would count. That was scrapped. Now, this is big for Alabama in general, because our taxes here typically are not as strenuous as like maybe say New York or California.
Yeah.
So those states that have higher taxes, that's going to hurt those people because they're not going to be able to deduct that. Okay?
Okay.
Which to me, maybe you need to look at our model. I'm just saying. Another one is the mortgage interest cap. Now, it wasn't eliminated, but the amount that you can count towards your mortgage interest, I'm really having a hard time saying that.
You are.
Okay. Before it was up to $1 million. So you could count, and I know that might be how much you're paying in interest, but if you were paying $1 million in interest on your mortgage, you could count that off. Well, now you can only count $500,000. So for those of you out there who are paying over $500,000 in your mortgage interest into Cobb, Jackson County,
That's
wherever it may
interest,
be,
by the way.
interest, just your interest,
Not principal.
then $500,000 is all you can count. The third thing is your property tax, and I think this is something that even states close to us like Florida, they are going to see an impact from this to where Alabama, we have a really low property tax bracket. So thank you to those people who work hard in Montgomery to keep that low for us.
Yeah, my grandparents grew up in North Carolina, and they were always complaining about the tax that they had to pay on their property tax, and ours is just minuscule compared to what theirs are.
Yes. Again, this is something that has to be analyzed because in California, for a house that's valued at about $250,000, your property taxes can be between $10,000 and $12,000 a year.
And that's not a nice house in California.
No, it's not. To whereas in Alabama, a house with $250,000 value on, depending on your acreage, you may pay $400, $500 a year. And I'm just ballparking those numbers. But you can see the difference compared to $1,000 a month to $500 a year. That's a huge difference there. There's a gap.
There's something to be said for living in Alabama, and especially where we are in the northeast corner.
So, hey, corporations, hey, people looking for somewhere to move to, guess what?
Alabama's your place.
It's the place to move to. I'm sure Governor Kay Ivey wouldn't mind us saying that, would she?
She would be happy. There's a new thing came out with a big company coming to Huntsville.
Yep.
And that's going to impact North Alabama. So we appreciate all the work that our legislative delegation have done for that. And also Google's coming to Jackson County.
Absolutely.
Lots of things coming to North Alabama.
Right. So guys, also, always make sure you talk to your CPA or your accountant, see where you're going to fall. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, even if you're a higher income tax earner. So before you knock this tax plan, or before you get on social media and tweet, hashtag not my tax plan, then I would recommend that you talk to someone or calculate the numbers and see where you're going to stand. I think you're going to be surprised.
And remember, this is not for this current tax season that you're about to file. It's for the next year. So as your paycheck comes in February, you should notice an increase.
You should.
I'm looking forward to that.
February should look good.
It's called Mad Money. No,
That's right.
I'm serious. It's going to pay
Invest
something
it.
off.
Pay off debt, invest the money. So
that's exactly right.
Went by really quick today, didn't it?
And don't forget, especially, I need to get the word out. If you are a employee in the Alabama teacher, what am I trying to say?
PHIP.
In the state of Alabama, if you're a PHIP member, yes, you have Teledoc now that you can use that will help prevent a copay. You can just either call them. You got to go online and set it up. It's at teledoc.com/Alabama. To set it all up, you can download the app. I think you'd love it.
Thanks to all our sponsors and those who help us out. Thanks for all of you who like our Facebook page. Be sure you go on there and like that at facebook.com/MoneyTreeTV.
Yes, I was going to say thank you to the folks at Mountain Valley, to Farmers Telephone TV, and WVSM 1500 AM 103.1 FM Rejoice. And we hope you'll tell your friends and neighbors about us. We're just two regular guys that just love, he knows about money, I'm learning. Okay?
Email us, Facebook us, whatever, tweet if you'd like to, because we do have that social media platform. Our old episodes, including new ones, are on our website, moneytreetv.org, also on our YouTube channel, Facebook page. And as always, we couldn't do this without you watching, without the hard work of those people. You know what? They're working hard tonight because we're probably going to see some snow. So hopefully by the time you watch this,
school delay,
you have dug out of your snow trenches. So.
That's true. You going to say your saying?
I am. Remember that you cannot know financial peace without first knowing the Prince of Peace, Jesus Christ. So make sure you have those priorities in line. And guys, thank you for tuning in.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Building your dream home is one of the great joys in life. At First Southern State Bank, we know construction and mortgage financing, putting today's low rates to work for you. As you and your family move closer to the completion of your new home, we know that your home is where memories are made and families grow stronger year after year. At First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, Scott Kirk stands ready to tailor the right construction loans to meet your needs, along with our staff of experienced loan professionals. Drop by to share your dreams with us today in Rainsville. First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, all the bank you'll ever need.
Hello folks, this is Andy White down here at Bobby Ledbetter's Twin City in Fort Payne, Alabama. I want to invite everybody to come out to our new location. We're at 1411 Glen Boulevard, right where you turn to go on Airport Road. We've got plenty of inventory for you to choose from. I got cars, trucks, vans, sport utility vehicles of any make and model. Come down here and visit us. Let us see what we can do for you. If you got some slow credit, I've got some banks that'll take care of that. We've got great financing, got a great selection of cars. Y'all come down here and see us.
Don't take the first deal that comes along when you can do better at BobbyLedbetter.com and Twin City Used Car Sales, located at 1411 Glen Boulevard in South Fort Payne.